welcome to G3. So glad you found us again. We're recording this show live. Today is February 26, 2015, and this is episode 34. Wow, I can't believe we've got to 34. This is so exciting. My name is Tina Chase Gilmore, and I would like to introduce you to our my co-host today and a special guest. So here we go. Let's start down here. I'm going to save our guest for last. In my lower left corner is the lovely Mary Hodder from Mountain View, California. Hi, Mary.
From 70-degree Mountain View, California.
70-degree, yeah. Cover your ears, Hallie. You do not want to hear our weather. I'll go to Hallie in my upper right. Hallie from Boston, Massachusetts, the very snowy, very frozen Boston, Massachusetts, and Hallie Sue Tucker.
Hi. Hi, fun to see you guys, and welcome, Scott.
Hallie, you've brought your pet today. And what's his name?
It's here.
Is his name in his butt?
His name is Jacob. I think that's like a name for a rabbi, but whatever. It says
I
Jacob.
asked her the dog's name, and
somebody
looks at
somebody
the
gave
butt.
him a name.
Okay. My lower right.
How do you follow that? Come on.
What?
The lovely Miss Christy Wells from sunny San Francisco.
Hi guys, glad to be here today.
Okay. Can everyone hear Christy fine? We're all good. Okay. And our special guest today, I think you're the third man that we've had on the show. Is that right, ladies? It was Scoble, it was Sifri, and now the fabulous Mr. Scott Jordan, CEO of Scotty Vest, and well known as the Pocket Man. Hello, Scott.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be the third man.
Yeah. If you can't be the first man, you can be the third man. That's just fine. You will forever be the third male guest on G3. So we're going to have a great conversation with Scott today and talk about some other things. I don't know if anyone else got a chance to watch the Oscars this past Sunday. Anybody Oscar fans? Yes. Christy was actually... She did something kind of interesting. You were in LA. What were you doing at the Oscars?
So, as many as you know, I work for Ancestry, and we've got this product, Ancestry DNA, which focuses on genetic genealogy. And we thought it'd be fun to take the product into one of the Oscar gifting suites and introduce it to some of the celebrities that were attending the Oscars. So we spent all day in LA and passed out a ton of kits, got people excited about family history, and learn some new shows and actors I'd actually never met before, which was kind of cool, or knew of, I should say. So it was a fun event.
Can you name drop and tell us who you met?
Daniel Baldwin was fun. Judy Tenuta, for those that kind of go back.
Judy Tenuta! I knew her.
I know.
I knew her.
It was kind of hilarious. So downtown Julie Brown was there. So,
I love her.
Yeah, it's not Brad Pitt. It's not Angelina, but it's great. I still take, Daniel was very sweet, and some of the others were great, and all of them had sincere interest in, what we were doing and trying to tap into their roots a bit. So it was exciting to kind of share that product and that information with them.
Are they as excited as I am about genealogy?
Well, I think some of them, yes. Right. We've actually had a couple of people come back to us within the last couple of days already and just, ask for additional assistance, which is great to see because it shows they are truly enthusiastic. I think you and I kind of go a layer deeper because we enjoy actually walking through cemeteries and
we'd be weird that way. Yeah.
I don't call it weird. I just we pursue different hobbies.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
My first job was working at a cemetery.
Is that right?
I was a cemetery salesman.
Cool.
My father owned a cemetery, so I sold cemetery plots.
That's a pretty good business, I imagine.
It actually is. It's not one, most college kids aspire to doing. So, I was dying to get out of it. Pun intended. But but
Well,
interesting enough.
it's a business that doesn't really have any ups and downs of the economy, right? I mean,
Actually,
everyone does.
even more so when there is a recession, people worry more about planning for those times when you die, so that it actually did better during recessions.
I have a feeling that Scott is balancing his computer on his knees because we're going for a ride with him every now and then.
Let me move.
We're making him move. Okay. So we get to see the beautiful vista there too. Well, yeah. Well, he'll figure it out. Okay.
There.
Oh, wow.
That's not San Francisco.
I think we're all going to invite ourselves to your office. It looks pretty fabulous there. So, Christy, that's kind of cool. I mean, you and I do really love this stuff. As a matter of fact, if we had had time, what I wanted to do is take the pocket car to a cemetery, but we didn't have time. You had a very busy schedule.
Call Jim, get the car back. Let's do it.
Get the car back and cruise the cemeteries in the pocket car. That would be something interesting. We'll talk about the Pocket Man car in a little bit. So yeah, Oscars was. I actually thought, when you're saying that you didn't see the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, I thought the Oscars were a little devoid of movie stars, like the big time movie stars. I thought it was maybe a little flat in that respect, but something that really caught my attention this year that I've never seen before is 2 mentions of suicide, or the topic of suicide, in the acceptance speeches. And I found that to be, I guess, socially interesting, and interesting that this week we hear about Facebook sort of dealing with suicide. And Christy, you actually pointed us to something. I saw mention of it. Tell us what that's about.
Well, I mean, Facebook just put out some new tools to try to help people unearth potential people at risk, and kind of give them a lifeline in which to find somebody to talk to and connect with. And I just think it's interesting because for me, again, that's the beauty of social, is really using the tools to try to connect with one another. And you can be very siloed in your home, or even if you go to work every day in an office, you still could feel kind of alone. And sometimes being able to reach out and connect with other people who are in the same boat, or sharing the same thoughts, actually is a pretty powerful thing. And so I was interested to see, Facebook launch this platform, and we'll be even more interested to see how it actually gets utilized and if it actually is something they can do, right? So they're trying to just look at, how does the phraseology come through? Can you either report people that you're concerned about? Can you, reach out to other folks directly as well? And I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
We've even
after...
Go ahead.
Can I ask, is this after they made us depressed by putting horrible crap in our feeds? Now they're going to fix it? I'm like, the minute I read it, I wait, didn't we read about them doing something like this? This, by the way, is the mini me of Jacob. So, you've seen him?
I don't know.
I don't research? Know. Well, Mary and I know we've talked about this.
Did that. They did do that, where they did some experimenting, right, of negative posts, but also we know that their algorithm sort of pulls out some negative posts, right? So I was thinking that this was kind of feeling related to that maybe their awareness of that issue is kind of led them in this direction.
Yeah.
Well, I think, their whole thing is, it's very easy. We talked about this last week, right? There's a lot of things we actually don't say because we personally choose not to express some of the more negative things or unhappy things that happen in our life. And that's just a personal choice. But some people, that's their only out, release is to actually try to say something, and it's their cry for help. And so I think it's interesting that, Facebook has taken this stance and partnered with some mental health organizations to try to, if they see you making these cries for help, that they can circle back in and through algorithms, hopefully try to connect you with mental health experts to prevent, some tragic things from happening.
Yeah, and this, also, we're always hearing about let's do some good with this technology. Let's do, we talk about how we're changing the world, but this could really change people's lives if it works, right? And kudos to them for kind of getting into this and trying, and let's see what happens with it.
Yeah, and I think of all the platforms that exist, Facebook is perfectly primed because they're globally dominating with regards to social networks and, active users on a daily basis. Nobody touches their numbers at the moment. And so I think it's an interesting path for them to take.
Right.
And it will just be time to tell whether or not it's successful.
And because it's also a network where we are connected with our families, I think that's an important piece of this.
Agreed.
All right.
I have to say, I was kind of happy to see that they actually worked with mental health professionals versus the time when they decided to rig all of our feeds and show us negative stuff to see if we had a negative reaction. I doubt they worked with anybody on that one. And so, it's like kind of a good thing that they. My one concern, I don't know much about suicide. I had one experience with somebody who told me repeatedly in great, great detail that they were going to kill themselves, like down to the time and the place and how and everything. And
you've had experience then with suicide.
Well, but it was one incident, right? And I didn't really understand what to do. So I called a suicide hotline and I'm like, okay, when this happens, what do you do? And they said, when someone gets specific, it's far more likely that they will actually carry out this threat. And you need to tell a family member. So I let one family member know. And the whole thing blew up. And what she ended up doing was emailing that family member plus 25 people plus me and just railing on me for a week. I got like 50 now.
Thanks a lot.
50 nasty grams over the course of the week, and I think I responded to 2 of them. And in the end, my feeling was, you know what, if you're angry enough that you're going to prove that I'm wrong and not kill yourself, awesome.
You're right. It worked.
It's like, it worked. And now, 5 years later, she's still totally pissed at me. And I don't really care. It's not my issue, but I didn't know what else to do. I mean, so I do think that in some ways this is a nice thing, but then I worry about, based on my one anecdotal experience, like people do react in interesting ways because I think what's underneath is it reflects deep hurt, right? And you don't know how somebody's going to react to that.
I had the opportunity to work at a crisis center years ago in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was actually when I worked there, it was a crisis center, but previous to that, it was the first rape crisis center in the country, and it was an extremely interesting experience. Very high burnout rate, though. It's tough to handle those phone calls, and they're not all suicide by any means, but we're trained to handle suicide calls, and it's very intense. It's very intense, and it's even for people who are well trained, it's sometimes hard to know what to do. But obviously we're trained and we've got tools and resources around us. But literally when somebody's on the ledge, it can be really a scary situation.
Well, I think that's, for me, it's a big step forward. I mean, there was actually somebody in the social media club community that years ago committed suicide, and it caught us all like off guard because honestly, you look at his feed and it was nothing but happiness and, glee. And so when it happened, we were just like distraught because we had no understanding of it. And so I think that there's 2 ways this is going to go is, hopefully if we can see those indicators, right, that somebody is crying for help, that we can report it or connect with them and try to get them help. But there's also got to be some other, if somebody's not talking about it publicly, I don't know how you try to help them in that respect. And so I just think that hopefully we can help more than not. And it's a good step forward on Facebook's part.
Right.
Well, I personally feel strongly about this particular issue, and it wasn't that long ago that I posted on my Facebook stream that, from the years 13 to 25, there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't think that was a viable way out. And I think in my position as a businessman, pretty prominent what I'm doing, to use Facebook to say, hey, listen, I understand that a lot of other people are thinking this way, but to me, looking back, the best part of my life is from in my case, 25 on and 50 on, and to just use social media to open the dialogue, and to admit that it's normal to have those thoughts. The thing that you want to do is be able to reach out for support any way that you can, whether it be through social media or through your friends and family, preferably. But I like to see that people are talking about it more openly, because I didn't realize quite how common it was for people to have those thoughts and discussions, but to take those thoughts and bring it down to something as detailed as what you were describing, times and dates. That's when it gets scary, and I think you did the right thing, obviously.
And here you've got, at the Oscars, you've got, I think his name was Graham Moore, accepting an Oscar and saying, when I was 16 years old, I wanted to kill myself, and life looked bleak. And I want to tell you, hang in there. You are, and I love that he used the pronoun she also. For whatever reason, he decided to do that. But he said, hang in there. For that, that she out there who's thinking about this, and you are weird and wonderful, and stay that way and hang on to it for dear life, basically. And you too can do great things and be, standing on this podium someday. And I think you're saying that too, Scott. It's like, let's raise where, we can be successful, but we can talk about the days where we were feeling like life was really bleak. And it's helpful to see someone who is successful like you, who's successful, standing up at the Oscars and saying, here I am, but it hasn't always been this way. And I understand it, and hang in there. But Christy raises, the issue of, you've got to get, there's got to be some tools out there to get some good help. And I hope that Facebook doesn't get stuck in this place where they're sort of brokering, the help. They may find themselves in a strange position, but hopefully they've set themselves up to not do that. So,
well, and I think it's just like, life is messy. And I think that's the problem, with some of the social networks right now, is we do sugarcoat things and we want people to think our life is so great. And so
right.
If I'm a 16-year-old girl who's not connecting with friends at school, and I look on Facebook or Instagram and everybody else looks like they're having an amazing life, that visibility is much more into their lives than I would have ever had long before social ever generated. And so it can actually create a lot more issues and make you feel a lot more siloed and alone. And so I think, like I said, it's a conscious choice for me not to share some of the negativity that I, have, right? Bad days that I have. But at the same time, I think about, gosh, I wish we could get to a point where we as humans would be comfortable in doing that, so that everybody saw that life is messy. It's not always going to be a glorious, perfect day, drinking wine and riding in the Polaris and doing all this cool stuff. Right? Yeah. There's going to be some days where, goddamn, I have to file taxes and I owe some money.
That's today. I've been doing that all week. It's particularly fun buried under a snow pile in Boston. It's like you have all the time you want to do your taxes, lots of time. So anyway, no. It's North Carolina is having really, and the South is having terrible snow today. And we woke up and there was no snow, so I can't complain. Now there's snow, but anyway.
And we're enjoying this like crazy sunshine, and
it's warm, right?
It's
very hot.
I must say it's unseasonably warm and beautiful, and we feel kind of guilty. But what can you do but like enjoy it? I mean, I'm sorry, but you got to enjoy it. I can't like walk around crying because it's pretty nice.
So wait, where's Scott? Wherever he is looks very beautiful. Where is that?
He is in Idaho, right, Scott? You're in Idaho?
Sun Valley, Idaho. And, if I could show you the mountain, the ski mountain behind me, it's unbelievable. And we've been having unseasonably warm weather here as well. So this is
So do you have any snow?
Wow.
That's our ski mountain.
Should that be a lot whiter than it is?
No, it should be, but they make a lot of snow. So, the skiing's been fantastic. I took yesterday off to go skiing, and it's spectacular. So
Yeah, and kudos to you for doing that, because you said that that was a rare thing, and my goodness, it's right there. It shouldn't be so rare, Scott. So,
Yeah.
you know.
It's true. I've been living here 14 years or 11 years, and I've only skied 4 times during the week.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm finding a way using technology to just up them the lift. The lift's 12 minutes and the ride down's 4. So during the 12 minutes I work and then I ski on the way down. So.
Well, as I had the chance to pick up some friends and drive them around in your awesome Pocket Man car these past few days, it was a topic that came up, and I kind of knew it. I knew it was going to happen because I felt it, which is we don't take the time out for fun, and I think it's especially true of women. I think traditionally we are kind of. If a woman's playing or having fun, they're kind of shunned a little bit. It's like, yeah, you should be taking care of whatever you're supposed to be taking care of. And I think women sometimes feel guilty for having fun. I do. I don't know. Maybe it's a mommy thing. It might be a mommy thing. But as I drove people around and, we said, like, this is like pure fun. All it is just like getting in this first thing, it was a very masculine car, a vehicle. I don't know if you can call it a car. Do you call it?
No, it's technically a motorcycle.
It's technically a motorcycle. It feels more like a car when you're in it. I didn't feel, I don't know. I don't drive motorcycles. Maybe I do now. But it feels more like a car, but it's black and it looks like a Batman vehicle, and it draws a lot of attention. People were literally like, they'd be crossing the street in front of me and they'd take their camera out and just shoot. Or interestingly enough, ask permission if they could take a photo, which I found interesting that people were asking. But it was definitely something that the ladies were saying is like, geez, we don't take the time to have fun, and that's wrong, because there's something that happens to you, in your brain when you just kind of let go and have a good time just for the sake of, without a goal. Just the goal is to have fun. And so I really want to say thank you, Scott, because you provided me with a lot of fun these past few days, and it was quite enjoyable. And I think you saw some of my posts of me, tooling around San Francisco a couple of times. Made my husband sweat a little. He goes, "You're going to drive that on the freeway?" And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. He's like, "Is that safe?" I don't know, but I'm going to go for it. And I drove down the coast, and it was just a ball of fun. I'll bring up a picture of it in a second. But so Scott, thanks for being here with us today. You have had this company that you started and I can't believe it. It's been about 15 years. Is that right?
That's right. We started in 2000, in December of 2000. In fact, we're celebrating our 14th year anniversary sale now. So, we're into our 15th year as of today, in effect. And it's been awesome. We were the first e-commerce clothing brand started on the internet when we started.
Really?
And there were a lot of companies like Land's End and catalog companies back in 2000 that would add the internet as a distribution model, but there were none that were starting on the internet. So we started kind of by accident, to be honest with you. Or my web designer, I just thought I'd have a brochure site. Didn't think I could afford to go, and didn't think there was any desire to be on the internet on a B2C basis. And 14 years later, 90% of our business is direct to consumer. And in Inc.'s fastest growing company list for 3 consecutive years, and Internet Retailer's Hot 100 list, making clothing with tons of hidden pockets and features.
And you were just prominently featured at O Magazine.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. We were really prominently featured in O's Organizing Unclutter edition in March, and we were the very first item, a full page thing, and the orders are coming in. It's true. There is an Oprah effect, and it's
there's
nice
an O
because
factor
women
there.
especially women need another alternative other than purses to carry around their stuff. So what we do is provide a bunch of pockets in garments to enable you to have your lipstick and your cell phone and your other things and not have to carry around a purse all the time. There you
Whoa,
go.
whoa, there it is.
There are pockets galore in here. A pocket for this, a pocket for that. You literally could carry everything you possibly could imagine, device-wise, in one of these vests, which is probably one of the. I'm guessing the vest was the original.
Yes,
product,
and
right?
therefore the name Scott eVest,
Which you're rethinking, aren't you? Or you're
yeah,
toying around
it's
with
an
it.
awkward name. I mean, it was never intended to be a multi-million-dollar apparel brand. It just sort of happened. It was a proof of concept. All I wanted to do originally was license the idea of wiring your devices in your clothing using a patented personal area network. And I formed Scott eVest as a proof of concept to other clothing companies. And now we have over 40 different items, men's and women's, from pants, jackets, vests, even underwear, for guys at least. So.
Oh wait, no underwear for women?
Not yet.
Okay, so
We can think of
please
some
don't
devices
rename.
maybe that we need to wire up in our underwear.
Hey, don't rename the company Scotty Knickers. Not
Scotty
good.
Knickers.
But I think, vest sounds like invest. Leave it. It's very good. It's smart.
You were toying with Pocket Man.
Yeah,
So I'd like to ask
and we
ask the
actually are gonna
ladies.
AB it. I've created another landing page, pocketman.org, where we're going to sell limited items. My feeling is this: I mean, if you land on a page called Scotty Vest, you think all they have are vests by a guy named Scott. When we have so many other items, and I think a lot of people don't think they want a vest or need a vest, or they're not a vest person until they try one on and realize that they can put all your stuff in it and walk in and out, having that, and you don't have to take it off. So, we're contemplating changing the name or having different offshoots of the brand. Pocket Man, Pocket Woman, Pocket Wear. I've been toying with this now for 14 years, but I'm finally going to test it.
I like Pocket World.
Pocket World, that could work.
I think Pocket Man and Pocket Woman could sort of preside over Pocket World. They could be like superheroes.
Pocket Planet.
Pocket Planet. There you go.
Universe.
Pocket Universe.
If you venture into the female underwear department, you have to connect with our good friend Hermione Way, who has a product called By Bees, and I know she'd be really interested in this.
Oh, are we going to get into what that is?
How G-rated do you want to keep this?
Wait, I didn't hear the word. What's the title? What's the name of it?
So it's called By Bees. It's a little vibrator for women, and it's a pretty cool little piece of technology. That's all I'm
Yeah.
going to say right now, because my mom might watch this later. So I've only read about it online, and I haven't even seen photos, Mom, but I know about it.
You're not beta testing? Is that what you're saying?
Mom's the word.
Okay. Well, so Scott, I don't know what you want to do with that.
I could go so many directions.
That's right. Leave it alone.
Oh no. Well, that's kind of an interesting direction, though. I mean, how are you getting into, sensors, wearable technology that can give us information about our bodies, things like that? Are you interested in that at all?
I have been in wearable technology now longer than anyone else, and we've made more money at it than anyone else but I have a very different philosophy on wearables than anyone else. And that is, we view that clothing should be where you put technology, that you don't otherwise embed technology into clothing. And I feel very strongly about this. There are pockets for sensors. You don't need to put a sensor into clothing. When people make clothing buying decisions, they don't want to make electronic buying decisions. So I think every company that is like focusing on a heart rate monitor built into the fabric, that's silliness. I mean, when a heart rate monitor can be separate and used with any shirt that you have, you don't have to decide to replace your heart rate monitor when fashions change. I feel very, very, very strongly about this.
Mary, what do you think about that? Where's fashion? Where's that going? Oh, Mary, I think you muted yourself.
Can't
Yes?
hear you,
I
Mary.
did. I did mute myself.
There you
I
go.
did.
Uh-oh.
There you go, darling.
Sorry, I was coughing earlier. Where do I think fashion's going? Well, I think the whole thing about wearables and sensors and displays is really interesting. And actually, I went to an event with Tina, who was having fun on Tuesday night at a It was like a Panasonic and PCH event, and they had some wearables in the room, some handbags with LED stuff, and people wearing outfits that were, had some kind of sensors, and actually they talked about an underwear sensor. That's for you, Christy. Um, but basically, I mean, where do I think fashion is going? I mean, in some ways, there is really there's a way where I think we've gotten, because the internet allows us to look at everything, like everyone knows about every fashion concept pretty much instantaneously if they care to look, right? And so how do you know, like if you're a designer, how do you make the next big thing? Well, I think the next big thing has to involve technology or some other thing, because it's not so interesting to just, remix all the stuff we've already seen, right? Like it's good, but it's not that interesting. And so I don't know.
For
That's kinda what I
technologists,
think.
well,
Not just for
where the-
technologists.
where
I
the-
really think for anyone. I think people are not that interested. It's like, I don't know if any of you guys watch Project Runway. It's the only reality TV show that I enjoy, or that I've enjoyed in the past. And what I like about it is you actually really have to be creative, and they struggle to meet the challenges and to actually produce these things. It's exhausting. It's like every day and a half you got a new thing. You're up all night, you're barely sleeping. You're trying to produce something good, and people do produce really good things. But I've noticed over the course of the 12 or 13 seasons that actually they're hitting a wall. In the beginning, there was a lot more innovation that could be done, and there's a certain point where everyone's seen everything. So now what do? Enter technology. It becomes really interesting.
Well, let me posit this. Number one, yes, I agree. It's getting boring, and it's always interesting to change. And changing colors alone is not interesting enough. But in that show, no one's focusing on changing the pockets. And here we are 14 years later in Discotti Vest, and we are the only company in the entire world that really focuses on designing pockets and engineering pockets in unique ways to accommodate the electronic devices that you are carrying or would like to carry.
But I would put the pocket thing in the technology category, because even though you're using all the same
I absolutely
tools,
do. But even
you're
still,
using
you
the
start
same
with the
tools.
pockets before you move on to the technology.
Yeah.
And
I count technology as anything that, I mean, technology is a zipper, right? Technology are stirrups, 700 years ago that changed war. I mean, it's not just new technology that's electronic and looks like this, I'm holding up my cell phone trying to get it over the thing. Anyway, but I mean, I think you're in that category of like actually trying to extend its fashion, but it has purpose, it has function in a way that people haven't, spent so much time on before. And now, so I have to say, when I saw you at the Scoble thing like a month ago, you gave us a shirt. It was for Ed. And he wears it now to every single yoga class, and it's got these pockets, and it's perfect. And he walks around and he's like, this is the perfect workout shirt, because functionally it does exactly what he wants. And I think that's you have figured out a way to make technology work with this and also be fashionable, and I think that's the next new thing. It's got to be more than just, oh, we changed the colors this season and we moved the collar around and now it's a thin collar instead of a thick collar. Who cares?
And it's not as easy as just deciding to put a pocket right here and just saying it's there. You have to worry about how it weighs on you and what it rubs against, and all these things that a lot of people really don't really consider. Can I propose something? When you watch futuristic movies, you never see anyone's clothing doing anything other than being clothing. Now, and if you look at a lot of those futuristic
well, I don't know. I
movies,
think we see some things light up.
yeah, you do see lighting up, but that's more fashion. That's not really function, and and I get that, and I think that's interesting, but you don't see that a lot. And I think futuristic sci-fi movies predict the future. And you look at movies from 20 years ago predicting future, some of those things, a lot of those things have come true. Why create clothing to fill a need that doesn't really exist? When I can put a heart sensor monitor on or a monitor on my hand, why build it in and embed it into the clothing and increase the price of the clothing? It's just ridiculous. But people are spending billions of dollars on this, especially in Silicon Valley. Silly.
Hallie?
Hey, I had a question.
Yeah.
Just quick, do you think that Google Glass kind of screwed themselves up with a bad fashion connection to that technology? What happened there?
Personally, no. I think Google, the form function was not as bad as everyone else thought it was. I'll tell you, the problem with Google Glass was very simple. It's battery life. You can't design something that's intended to be ubiquitous, intended for something you rely on for everything, and it lasts 2 hours of continuous use.
Right.
So
And it's end of
it's
story.
self-defeating. I mean, they should make it not color and make it do less and make it last 8 hours. And then it had a chance, and it still does. I don't think it was as ugly as everyone thought it was. I wore it extensively, but I can only wear it for 3 hours before I have to plug it into a battery.
I get it. Hey, I had a coat I want to tell you about that came with this was Land's End made this. It was just a parka, and it came without me knowing. It was for my kid, actually. A little, like, a piece of cord and a snap that had a piece of fleece that was like a little handkerchief. So when you went skiing, you could, like, wipe your nose. And that was, like, the greatest thing. And do you do stuff like that? Do you do little extra?
Yeah.
Because that was so, and he always had a runny nose. So God knows he needed it, But I thought, wow, I'm really glad somebody thought about that.
We have key holders, extendable key holders. We have bottle holders. We have eyeglass cleaners. We design our pockets so that when you bend over, things don't fall out. Don't you hate that?
Yes.
and our pants. I mean, we basically think about how people interact with their devices, not only their devices. My wife doesn't even own a cell phone, but she has 4 dog leashes and, Kleenex and medication and, a lot of other things. We live in a mobile society. She wants to be able to carry it with her. So yeah, it's really looking at clothing in a functional respect to solve your problems.
Pocket Man's wife doesn't have a cell phone?
Listen.
It's the only person in the world I know without a cell phone.
No. My husband forever did not have a cell phone, and
But he
he's
has
a
one now.
cell phone programmer. Now he has it. When I met him, he did not have one. But
I
for
have,
him, it's like he does it all day. So.
I have like 3 people I know in my life that don't have a cell phone. They all drive me crazy. I can't stand it. I won't make plans with these people. It's like,
what
it's
I
impossible.
do? I leave messages on their answering machine because I have a couple of friends too. And I call up and I say, hey, David, just calling to invite you over for dinner. Guess I missed you. I'm going to call your cell phone. See you later.
Well, it's worse because anyone who wants to reach Laura, what do? They call me.
They call you.
Ew. I'd say that's brilliant technology.
Well, it's for her. She's the brilliant one.
She's smart.
I'm her secretary. Yeah.
So tell us the woman behind Scotty Vest. What can you tell us about her?
Oh my God. She is the love of my life. We've been married 19 years, and she is the hardest working person I have ever met, ever. Just by way of example, we had our big sale that started today. So she got into the office at 10:30, and she'll leave at 4 or 5 or 6, and 10:30 last night p.m.
Oh.
She's been at the office now for, 14 hours, already.
Yipes.
It's crazy. She is, she'll typically go to the office between 1 and 3 a.m. because she wakes up and can't sleep, and she's like, well, instead of being restless, I'm just going to go to work. And now that we live right above our office, she just goes down a flight of stairs. She's brilliant. She's a Mensa. The entire success of my business and myself is due to Laura. She runs the business in the back end of the inventory and the purchasing and the order processing. And she's highly logical. She will only do things that have logic to them. And she's like Spock. Quite literally. If it's not logical, she just will not partake in it.
And we get the idea. You're the opposite. Is that what you're
well,
saying?
I am logical, but I'm emotional. I like to be in the limelight. She could care less if she's ever in the limelight. That's not
So
who
are
she
you?
is.
You're the sexy Flash, and she's runs the goddamn business for you day and night.
We have a perfect balance. A lot of couples, it's a recipe for disaster to work with your spouse. It really is, and we weren't sure if we could ever make it work. But just because what I'm great at, she would rather not ever have to do. She doesn't travel at all. She doesn't go away. She loves living here. I'll be in San Francisco yet again on Thursday. I travel quite a bit. She loves it when I do because she gets to be alone with the poodles, the 4 poodles. 3, I should say. We lost Lucy, unfortunately. But so yeah, Laura's terrific. I mean, she's perfect for me.
It's actually very refreshing to hear a guy give his wife or his business partner their due, and thank you for doing that.
It's
Mary,
easy
you
to
had
do.
something that you were about to say. You've muted yourself again,
She's
coughing
mute.
girl.
Damn it. Sorry. I had dinner 2 weeks ago with 2 women founders in San Francisco. It was for Dev Week. Sorry, now my cell phone is, of course, beeping right at this moment. All right, just dismissed.
You know you're supposed to turn your cell phone off when you start the show.
It's her hard stop.
What? Okay, now I got to interrupt myself to tell you about how we watched the Oscars. We streamed them online, and because we were doing that, they had a streaming function that you could do. Although that's another long story, but anyway, who cares? Whatever. But I had to go around and turn off every device in the house that was connected to the Wi-Fi. I had to turn off over 20 devices, right? Because we had like 12 cell phones and like 8 tablets, and then we had all of our laptops, which we'd already turned off. So it was 20 devices on top of all the laptops, which we had 4. I mean, it was crazy. Anyway, it took me half an hour to shut down the Wi-Fi connection.
Do we need to pull back?
Yeah.
So my question is this: I had this dinner and we had this great conversation about how there are expanders and there are containers. And the ideal combination for a business in R3 estimation by the end of the night was that you have an expander and you have a container. And the 3 of us, of course, were like, okay, we're all expanders. And so how do you find your perfect container? Who does it? And the thing that it sounds like to me from listening to you, Scotty, is that you and your wife, you're the expander, she's the container, and it works.
Yeah, it's funny because just the other day she said to me, Scott, your role is to dream big and come up with crazy ideas and get out there and tell the world about how great ScottyVest is and all these things. And in the meantime, my role is to tell you, that half your ideas suck. But the other 50% are worth considering, and 10% are worth doing. And I need someone who's really strong to be able to say that. It's interesting. We've been married 19 years and probably had like 1 fight in all of 19 years.
Wow.
And we have a mutually assured destruction policy because we're both extremely strong-headed and stubborn. And we know that if we ever got into a really serious fight, we would just end up in a divorce. So we just don't know how to go halfway and then have great makeup sex. It would just go straight to divorce. So we decided that maybe we shouldn't go there. So
I'm guessing no children, because children bring on more fights. I'm telling you for sure.
It's true. We were married 2 years, and I said, we got this marriage thing down. Let's have some kids. And she turns to me. I'll never forget. My heart was broken. She says, I'm not so sure I want to have children. And I said, really? Well, that's the sort of thing you might have wanted to tell me before we got married. And she said, well, you never asked. And I said, you're right. And so, it was really a struggle because I thought that's what you do. You get married, you have children. That's why why else get married? You might as well play the field for the rest of your life. And I've learned that in my case, my children, our children is our is the business.
Yeah.
We couldn't have been this successful in business if we had children, regardless of what Randy Zuckerberg says. And I'd be interested, maybe I'm opening up a hornet's nest. I think it's impossible to have children, whether as a woman or a man, and be able to devote as much time to your work. Something's got to give.
It's a terrible struggle for sure. It's interesting. I hear just the other day, as a matter of fact, when I was in the Pocket Rocket driving someone around, and we were talking about, I was with a person who's a startup, and she was expressing the business as a baby. It's something that you definitely, conceptually you give birth to, you nurture, you love, you fall in love with, it breaks your heart, all those things that, we experience as parents. And it's an interesting sort of way we feel about, what we do as entrepreneurs.
I have to add one thing. I was the CEO with a young baby boy, and I dragged him into every meeting and everything I had to do, and the worst has happened. He wants to do a startup now, and he's I'm really sorry that's happening.
Hallie, were you? Did you have him? Was it early on? Were you breastfeeding in?
Oh God, no. He was. I'm trying to think. He was born in LA in '95, and we moved back here to Boston in 2000, and I was the CEO of a startup in like 2004 or 5. So he was 9 or 10, about 9 or 10. And he was really into the whole thing, and we would go visit all sorts of people. And I love, sometimes I had to visit really famous people, and he wouldn't know who the hell the people were. And we went once, do you know Eric Raymond, who did the Cathedral? He's the Linux programmer, geek guy. I had to talk to him, interview him, and he got in a fight with my son over, who had certain Legos. They were trying to build something from Legos, and my son's like, "You have it, give it to me." And I'm like, "Oh God, I'm not watching this, am I?" They're having a fight over Legos. So it was weird. It was very strange, but it's tough. It's tough.
I think it's extremely brave for women to bring their kids with them to meetings and I just wonder what that's really like, because I didn't do that. And, what's that like when you are faced with somebody who kind of looks at you going you got to be kidding me?
The people that aren't going to like you as a woman CEO are also not going to like your children. So who cares? And the people who will like you as a CEO, as a woman, probably are cool with your kid. And actually, everybody was really pretty great with. We went to see Seth Godin one time. He had these great Razor skateboards, and he wanted Jackson to try it out. Jackson was his model customer. Mm-hmm. So Jackson got involved in a lot of stuff. Everybody's pretty great about it.
That's cool to hear. I wanted to show and Scott, I want to hear more from you about what's going on in the company, but hang on, I've got to switch cameras here. And that is the Pocket Man car.
How many people came up to you and said, "Is that Batman's car? It looks like Batman's car."
Well, yeah, definitely a few said it looked like the Batmobile, and I agree. It does look like the Batmobile,
I have a
except for that it's got Pocket Man
that...
all over it.
Everyone and a lot of people, "Oh my God, that looks like Batman's car." And I said, "Now, how would Batman feel if you went up to him and said, 'That looks like Pocket Man's car'?" And they said, "Yeah, I guess that's kind of rude." And I said, "Yeah, it pretty much is. That's Pocket Man's car or something."
Yeah, so just fuck off.
It's not the coolest car. It's the most fun I've ever had driving. It really is, and it's fun to share it with people. And I bought it. It happened to get stuck in California because I got that recall notice saying, "Do not drive it because it may crash at any moment." And so I gave it to Tina. I didn't tell her that. By the way, congratulations for living. There's so much I can talk about.
You could have told me that before I took it on the freeway, Scott.
Now you know.
I mean, can we talk
No, in all
about, like, it's
seriousness,
a
I got a
brilliant
notice
marketing
from
ploy.
Polaris.
Hang on. Christy, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, Tina and I actually were talking about this the other day too. For me, it's a great marketing campaign because one, you're putting your brand in other people's hands, not just through clothing, but giving them a vehicle to incite, pleasure. And so for me, it's all about experience marketing. And I just think that it was really smart, and just wanted to maybe talk about that a little bit, about what made you decide to hand it over to a bunch of people, not knowing what our driving records were like.
I didn't know that you were going to be driving it.
Oops, no, I did drive it.
So,
I
all right.
wanted
So
to. I
here's
come
the
from a
deal.
racing family.
You know, I bought it primarily because I wanted it for myself, and then I started thinking this might be a great marketing opportunity. So I drove it from here to Las Vegas, and it was -11 when we did, and I decorated it very carefully, and it's an outdoor vehicle. There's no insight to it. I actually drove it a very small portion of the way, and then hired the Stig to drive it the rest of the way.
You drove it in that kind of cold?
Yes, I did, and someone else drove it the rest of the way in that kind of cold. But if you dress warm and have a full face helmet, it's not as bad as you think. It's not, at all. So, but I drove it to Vegas, and people cannot help but see the car and want to photograph it and smile. How many people, when you were driving by, they just can't help but smile ear to ear, and then you smile back, and then I go like this, Pocket Man, and and they're photographing me, and they're almost hitting me, and I'm like, please don't hit me, but if you do, get it on video and put it on YouTube, because it would go viral.
I had people stop in the middle of the street in San Francisco, go down low to get the good shot. And I was like, oh my God, they're in the middle of the street taking a picture of this. This is crazy.
Yeah, it turned out to be a brilliant marketing experience, just to drive it alone, and then the plan was to leave it with Robert Scoble for a month or so, and let him drive it around, because he knows everyone and he has fun. And then Robert went on his hiatus from social media, and as a result, I decided, rather than leave it parked in his garage for a couple weeks while he was going to Dallas and whatnot, I'll make it available to anyone who wants to drive it. So
I love it. So now we know, Tina's the new Robert Scoble. Yeah.
Well, no, but I love driving cars, and it was an awful lot of fun. One thing I purposely didn't do is ask Scott how fast it goes, because I didn't want to know. I know the speedometer probably is, it goes up to 220 in the speedometer, right? And I figure, I don't know what, I didn't want to know, because if I heard the number, like if he would tell me, Tina, this thing goes like 160, I'd be going like, okay, now I got to go 160. I wouldn't be able to not do that. So can you tell me now?
Yeah. I mean, it weighs 1,700 pounds, has 174 horsepower, so it's super light, and I think it'll do 135 miles an hour. I get an alert every time you went over 65 miles an hour. Do you know that?
So how many
There was
times
a
did I
GPS
clock
system
in
in
over
it.
that?
You went once. You went 78. How did that feel?
Ooh! Oh, don't tell my husband. He'll be
Well,
so
I've got an
mad.
email with the longitude and latitude and coordinates and speed and everything else. So,
It must have been for a very short distance. I'd probably,
gunned it for a moment, but it's not about speed, because when you are going fast in that car, because it sits only 5 inches off the ground, you really feel like you're going much, much faster. So the experience is actually more intense at lower speed. So I'm thinking about buying 5 of them and sending college kids around the country and going to state fairs and just driving around as pocket dudes.
You might want to think about the liability on that, though.
I've been contemplating that. Yes. Nothing insurance can't.
I think
cover.
Christy and I, or maybe it was Lisa Padilla and I, were joking. We're like, I don't know, something happened on the road, and we thought that would be a headline. Tina Chase Gilmore and Lisa Padilla dead in a Pocket Man car crash. Thanks, Scott Jordan.
I have marketing contingencies for things.
I see. You've planned this out.
It's all part of it. I actually was hoping for a lousy driving record.
I
Not
see.
dead.
I see. Well, you weren't going to get it from me, pal.
No, you were safe. You were safe.
Because you've got GoPros attached to it. I think the thing that you've got these alerts coming through, right? And for me, this is the fun part of how you embed tech to also heighten that experience too. And I think that's the promise of all that we're doing right now as well, is how do you take that experience and share it with other people who may not be able to get behind the wheel of the car?
Well, can I share the plan that with Robert we were having a Pimp My Polaris contest where he was going to reach out to all his fans and say, hey, I've got Jordan's Pocket Man car. How can we, do the most fun things with it? So in the meantime, what I have created is this experience that when the car is parked, an alarm is set. So if anyone breaks like a 5-foot perimeter, which everyone comes up and starts looking at the car, I don't know if Tina figured out how to set the alarm, but we have to tinker with it. What's going to happen is someone walks up to it and it's like, hey, you looking at my car? and then side, yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you looking at my car? And then it creates this whole theatric experience where, yeah, I'm Scott Jordan. This is my car. It's a Polaris. And because every superhero has a theme song, listen to mine. And then Pocket Man starts playing, which is a parody based upon Elton John's Rocket Man. And then it stops. And then all of a sudden someone breaks the plane again. Are you still looking at my car? And it creates this whole thing. And actually, we've spec'd it out so that I can actually interact with people. I'll get a GPS or a SMS text when someone breaks the plane. I'll see a picture of them, and I'll have the opportunity to control the show and then live stream it. So wherever I go, when the car is parked, it's actually working more for me than when I'm driving.
Right.
So that's the next step to it. It's really exciting.
And Scott, did you want to ask our viewers to come up with some interesting plans for the car? We've got some ideas floating around, and maybe someone out there will think of something excellent to do with your car.
Well, yeah, send me an email, Scott at Scotty Vest. You want to borrow for a couple days? All I ask is that you film your experience and drive safely and take lots of pictures and show it to friends. So the point is now, handing it off from one person to another, you can't help but to show your friends the vehicle. And so if you have a lot of influential friends and you're a safe driver and you want to borrow it, flip me an email, Scott at Scotty Vest.
And does it have a snowplow?
No, but I do have
Yes,
snow
I'll
tires.
take it. It would be
I have snow
perfect here.
tires. Where do you live? Where are you?
Boston.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
In Boston. So, if it had a snowplow, you got a happy customer. I'd be thrilled.
Well, it's fun on snow, but you can't go through deep snow because it's so low.
Yeah. All right. When you said negative 11 degrees, I knew, that's good. That'll work here. It was negative 11 the other morning. So, but no. Just don't tell my kid. He would die to drive this. And he's in San Jose. So.
But he's quite the bicycle person.
He's a bike guy. But
I'm not sure he'd get behind. Well,
I think he would drive this in a minute. Are you kidding?
okay, there you go.
Is he responsible? I'm asking his mother if
Don't
he's responsible.
ask me. Okay, ask me if in November he hit a pickup truck while he was on his fixed gear bike, which has no brakes, and he was not wearing a helmet.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
Sounds like a perfect candidate for you, Scott.
yeah, exactly. You get a lot of newsprint. There
All
would be
right, it's his.
really. No.
So hopefully your car will get what did you call it? Pimped out. Pimped out or pimped
Yep.
up?
Pimped out.
All right.
I mean,
You're gonna
already
pimp
sorta
the pimped up
is.
car
It just
up.
needs to be a no-brainer. We're trying to solve the issue of when there's no Wi-Fi around, how we can live stream readily. I mean, its bandwidth is expensive. That's really what it amounts to. So, I mean, all the technology is viable and doable, although you have to get outdoor cameras, so you couldn't just put for example, a drop cam on it, and you have to get good Wi-Fi. So.
Just
It's
need
all
one of those
feasible.
drones following you around, like what Facebook's doing in
Yeah.
Africa, or get Google to hook you up.
Yeah.
There you go. a drone following. We can have a drone just follow the car. We can,
Yeah.
Mary, you can work that out, right?
A drone camera? Yeah, well, my brother's actually going into the drone business. He just signed a contract with a company that's going to do agricultural drone work. So they're starting testing. He's the data collection. So maybe he has a half dozen drones. Maybe he'll show up with one.
The problem
But,
with drones is battery life. You can
Yeah.
follow them around for 10 minutes and then you got to swap out a battery. So
Well, so the drones that they're using, the flies all have to be about an hour and a half. So
oh, really?
what?
That's significant. An hour and a half. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Well, he's doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 140 acre orchards. And of course, the almond business in California, 800,000 acres of almonds. That's a very lucrative business to be in. And if you can, cut down the number of guys that you need with a drone, or use your guys to do other things to increase your yields, it's a good thing for a farmer to do, but you need to be able to fly the whole thing. You can't just fly for 10 minutes because you're getting like 10 acres and that's not enough.
And I would imagine it's super simple to program the drone to just follow the car.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, that's actually a really interesting idea if you could, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to see.
Scott, let's make this happen.
I'm in. I would. I mean, there's someone in my inbox right now who wants to do that, but it's very expensive. So, I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting.
Well,
Because the drone view, I mean, drones take amazing photography. I mean,
Right. That's
and the
what
vehicle,
they're all about.
Yeah. So,
geez, fun. So, Scott, is there anything that you want to let us know about ScottyVest right now? Anything going on that we should be aware of, or it's something you're about to get into, or anything that?
well, between now and Tuesday, I'm not sure when this is going to go live, but we're having a 40% off sale for our anniversary. So if you were ever contemplating getting a ScottyVest, now's the time to do it. And we just introduced a featherweight vest, which is a super lightweight. I mean, it almost feels like air. It's lighter than an iPhone, for a garment. And that just came out. And otherwise, we just keep making clothing with better pockets. And I'm on my way to California for a recruiting tour. And I'm meeting with a bunch of colleges because our biggest problem, although we live in paradise, is getting people to work here. The community's got 5,000 people, and it's hard to find people who want to live in such a small, beautiful community. So if you're interested in working for us, look at our jobs page and send a resume.
Well, with the vista that you can see outside of your offices, I can't imagine that it's so hard to get people to come and live in such beauty. So
It's harder than you'd imagine. I mean, people who live here are here because all they want to do is play. They don't come here for a career. So, then it's a matter of convincing someone to move here, and then they have a spouse, and now you have to convince the spouse, and then all of a sudden the extended family. How do I, it's complicated. It makes hiring much more difficult. So.
Okay, well, I think we're. Oh goodness, something didn't get turned off here.
What happened?
I don't know.
Is there a fire?
I'm guilty myself of not turning all the devices off. They're all ringing, and they all ring now too, right? So I mean, one goes off and they all go off. I'm not exactly sure. I know that we started a little late today, but I think we're over our hour. So I think we should wind up. It's been awfully fun. Does anyone want to bring anything up before we go? Is there anything burning? No. Okay. Good. We might get out of here. So, thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and everyone out there for tuning in and listening. We're enjoying the feedback, and we love our viewers and the people who are talking to us and telling us what they want to hear. So, Mary Hodder, Christy Wells, Hallie Sue Tucker, thanks for being here. Hallie,
Thank you.
please stay warm.
I'm trying. I'm
know.
trying.
You're inside with mittens on.
And if you can't,
These are just hand warmers. These aren't mittens. I have big mittens.
and if you can't stay warm, and if you're too fed up, please get your ass out here,
Okay. I'll
or at
try.
least get your ass out to Idaho. It's much warmer out there. Scott will hook you up. Okay.
We have more snow, I think.
Scott Jordan, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciated the dialogue. We love Scotty Vest. You've outfitted a lot of Silicon Valley. They've walked around for years with all their devices in their pockets of their vests and jackets and shirts, and now underwear. I'm not sure I wanted to know that. Long live Scotty Vest, or whatever you're going to call it.
No, it's going to stay Scotty Vest. But thank you so much. It was fun to be the third man on this show.
Do you
If
know that
can't
movie?
be first, be third.
That's a famous movie, you know.
Yeah, have
The
you
third-
seen The Third Man?
Die
Ah,
a great-
dritte Manu.
It's
From
a great,
Pocket
it's a great
Man
movie.
to Third Man. I like it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe you could do like an advertising thing that, you know, looks like, I don't know, can we share a link? How do we share a link? Can we do that?
Where? Share a link where?
I
You
don't
can
know.
on
If I
Skype.
give you a link in the Facebook chat, Tina, can you post the
Later.
thing? Okay. All right. Never mind. Well, maybe we call it The Third Man, but the photo that I just took is like, you know, I think it would be cool to take that photo and then you could redo it for Scotty Vest, you know? Like instead of wearing a trench coat, the guy in the tunnel is like wearing a Scotty Vest and his cell phone's not falling out.
Okay. There you go.
Anyway.
All right. So I'd like to thank Ustream. We're using their platform to stream and record G3 live every week, or thereabouts every week. As I mentioned before, this is our 34th episode. You can find us on facebook.com/G3 show and ustream.tv/G3. Find us there, like us there, love us there. We're happy to connect with you wherever. And we're working on some other ways to connect with us. Yeah, thank you. What are you doing, Mary?
I was reaching for my water bottle.
Oh.
I'm thirsty. What can I say?
It's about lunchtime, folks. Hang on to your socks,
I know.
okay? Goodbye,
Bye.
dog. I'm so glad your dog didn't bark too much, Hallie, during the show. And thank you.
No, he's a good boy.
Thank you again for being here. We'll see you soon. And let me get my logo up and get ready, and you can all say bye-bye.
Bye.